Hello, my withdrawal warriors. It's me again, Dorian. And before I forget, because I typically do, please like and share to help other people become aware of our withdrawal issue and help other people who are going through it. And even post withdrawal, which is where I am now. But and subscribe, that'd be great too. And so you can get notifications. And what I just said kind of goes into the whole message of today is I'm post withdrawal and life is lifing, as some people say, it's doing its thing. We all go through stuff, and this isn't everybody's case, but for me, I was somewhat at first I was deceived, but then I got a little bit wiser into thinking that the drugs aren't going to change my circumstances, but I became desperate enough. And so I'm doing it raw, as you say, without medicinal help. And I can tell you that drugs would not change my circumstance. You know, what's going on right now, it wouldn't change my circumstance. You could argue that my behavior or my reactions, if they're not positive, wouldn't help the circumstances. But that's where, as I've emphasized in the past, learning coping mechanisms is really helpful. That's really what's going to make all the difference. They often say that combining the drugs and the therapy is most beneficial. Again, I'm sure they say that for a reason. Let me just say real quick that, of course, when I was told that, which was, you take the drugs, that'll stabilize you, you can be more receptive to the therapy and get in a level head enough to implement these therapeutic strategies and coping strategies, the tools that are in your toolbox. I felt like I didn't even have a toolbox before I started therapy. But, anyways, then you can get off of the medication. And then when I decided I wanted to get off the medication, I didn't have the support of my prescriber. And I said, but you told me this was the plan. So that's where once I was in the game, they didn't want to let me out. And I had to do all of this withdrawal on my own. No prescriber I've ever had was, well, I take it back. It's not that no prescriber was willing to help me get off of it. One was kind of like, she wasn't about that. The other one, he like tried, but then when I was having issues, he just kind of was like, I don't know. I mean, you went by the tapering schedule and it didn't work out. You just go according to what's comfortable. And I'm like, I'm looking at you because you went through medical school and you're supposed to know this, but they don't. He didn't. I feel like I'm getting off track. So back to doing life without medication. When I was medicated, like honestly, it didn't help. Not for me. I was really sedated, and then when I got to a certain level of escalation with the really intense like emotions and situations I was dealing with, it didn't matter. I mean, it just like overrode the drugs. I don't think it slowed me down. Um, on some occasions, I can recall, this is another great point. I can recall just going, eh, like being verbally assaulted. I'm going to try to be pretty general. And I was just like, meh, not keeping in mind that like my child was being exposed to it all the while. Um, So what ended up happening is staying in situations. It could be your job, your, relationship, any type of relationship, really. Whatever the situation is that is just junk, um, for me, just speak for me, it kept me in these adverse situations when, like, where I just like kind of didn't care or not as much, or I sloughed it off, and instead of really realizing, and this is a combination of things, like maybe somebody didn't, I know somebody didn't like teach me, not even when I was in therapy necessarily, to like seriously reflect on my circumstances. If anything, some of the professionals I spoke to kept telling me to hang in there and don't make any big decisions for this reason, that reason, the other. This went on for like a few years at least. It was always a reason to stay in the mess. And I finally had to realize what was wise, which was to get out of it. Um, so I just wanted to make this video. I don't want to drag it out too long, but for a lot of people, again, I'm not going to say everybody, but for a lot of people, you probably got on the medication because your situation was horrible and it either didn't help or now you have another horrible situation on your hands because of withdrawal. And I pray for you. And if you feel like nothing has worked, you have nothing to lose by asking Jesus to heal you. Um, I, for a while, I don't know, it was several months, maybe a year or so, I was in bed. I mean, before I would like pray all the time, but I would say my prayers at night and I would just ask God to reveal the truth to me. And I didn't really know what I was praying for, because I was thinking more like a global sense, like what's going on with the world, and I want to know the truth. And it really hit home. The answer I got really hit home as to what the truth was that was going on in my personal life. There's been other prayers I'm sure I can't think of specifically right now where I would pray for something and the answer I got an answer to what I was praying for, but it was not in the way that I thought I was praying for it, if that makes any sense. Um, so don't kick your own butt as to why you got on the medication. We go through hard times and we're looking for something to help. And some of us didn't realize that these drugs can be more harmful than they are helpful. Um, for me, I fought tooth and nail to not go on medication the last time around. And I was trying things like ashwagandha and I was in therapy and I couldn't take it anymore. I had these people, at least like one friend, and then like the professionals I was talking about telling me to get on medication, and I didn't want to, and I couldn't take it anymore. And I tried it, and that ended up being the catalyst to the worst withdrawal I'd ever experienced before. The withdrawal before that was on SSRIs, and it was pretty minor and tolerable, and I thought it wasn't going to be a big deal, and it was absolutely horrible. So I get it, at least in a sense. Everybody's experience is different. Don't kick your own butt. Think about your circumstances. If there's anything you can do to change your circumstances, um, if you don't feel like there's anything to do or that you can do about your circumstances, pray about it. Talk to people you trust. Even those people can have good intentions and might tell you something that's, not helpful in the end, but we live and we learn. And I have you in mind every time I pray that we will get out of this mess and stay out of this mess. And that if you're at the point like where I am, where you're not medicated, that you can stay strong, handle it, and help other people that are going through or have gone through the same thing. Thank you so much for listening again. Again, please share this so other people can be aware of what's going on. I love you guys, and Jesus loves you.